Today we're in sunny Los Angeles, California, and we're hanging out with my bestie. She's a professional wrestler, influencer, content creator, actress and writer, and Bowie and Presley's mom, Taya Valkyrie. And of course, check us out on YouTube, where you'll find the show in its original intended format. I'm Mackenzie Mitchell, and welcome to Threads. Hi.
Hi.
We meet on a different occasion.
Yes.
Wait, how many times have we actually worked together? I mean, we've done some stuff on camera, but having a chat like this on air, I don't think we've ever done this.
No, we've never had this little intimate sit-down situation.
Here we are. We're so professional. Look at us, like besties just hanging out, getting to talk about just getting to talk about style and fashion and all the awesome things throughout your career.
Yes. It's a long road.
It's been a long journey, and when I was putting these questions together, I'm like, Taya Valkyrie, I was researching you, and I kind of felt weird. I was like, you're my best friend. I should know all these things.
Taya Valkyrie's
right? But I love it. We have so much to talk about. We have so many iconic looks from the past. So let's go early days. Let's go early little Kira. Were you always Taya Valkyrie, or what were you ECCW? Is that right? Where you started? What was your name then?
I was always Taya Valkyrie, guys, from the beginning.
Really? Yep. Okay.
I really wanted to have a different identity. I didn't want it to be compared to me. I like to separate the two.
Okay.
Kira and Taya are very different. So from the beginning, it was actually Taya Valkyrie.
Okay.
But then when I went to Mexico, they kept saying Taya because of how it was spelled for Spanish speakers. And I kept correcting everyone, and Conan was like, you got to stop correcting them. You're just Taya now.
You're Taya.
And it just changed, and here we are.
And here we are. So tell me about this. Where it came from, the brown, the inspiration. I need to know.
Okay. So, Taya Valkyrie, originally, I had it in my little, green wrestler brain that I was, really going to lay into the Valkyrie Viking thing.
Okay.
So, I wanted Viking-like
aesthetic.
Gear. Yeah, so I guess that this is what I thought a Viking wrestler, warrior, princess would wear. I think it's kind of like Xena colors or something. But I had this, and I had, brown furry boots, which I have no idea where they are.
Okay.
And then I had a fluffy shoulder piece that also,
went with it.
That matched the boots.
Okay.
And
Who made this for you?
I forget her name, but she was out of Calgary, Canada, and she used to make all my fitness stuff. So she made a bunch of costumes for fitness competition when I competed. And then she ended up making me this, my first set.
Wow, and how you've evolved. That is bizarre to think about this.
Oh my God.
This little jumper to where you are today.
Who is this?
Who is this? Who is this? Well, you mentioned the furry boots.
Yes.
Tell me the story about the furry boots and how they came to life and how they came to be.
Well, because honestly, I thought of Viking style furry boots, right? Vikings traveling and taking over the world and being on boats and in the snow, and I just was like, furry boots. And I also think that it goes back to that weird aesthetic that in the early 2000s go-go dancer-ness. Mm-hmm. Maybe I just really liked. I have no idea, but it definitely was
a thing
with the Viking vibes.
And then it stayed. Have you ever thought to okay, it's time for that to be removed from my wardrobe, or do you think that's kind of became your staple throughout the years?
Oh, it's 100% my staple, and it has survived the test of time. Mm-hmm. And some people are like, why do you still do that? I'm like, listen, don't fix something that's not broken. I did have a 3-month period at one point in I'm going to say 2015, maybe 2014, where I was like, I think that I could do a kick pad.
Okay.
And I had really weird fur-trimmed kick pads for
Do you have any of those? Or we can just find them in the archives and we can throw them up here.
Yes, they are. Well, yeah, we'll do a cut-in of them. I think that the first time I wore them, or one of the first times I wore them, was when I wrestled, or when I was managing Pentagon, when he wrestled Johnny Mundo, John, my husband, at Triple Mania, and I turned on Pentagon and went with John. I remember it was red ones. I just couldn't do it. I was like, I felt too weird.
Yeah. We needed to have the furry boots, and the boots live on today.
They're my comfort zone.
Yeah, right? Okay, so you trained in Canada, then quickly after you went to Mexico.
Yes.
Huera Loca was born.
Yes.
Kind of take me through that version of Huera Loca and how that came to be, and then also kind of went hand in hand with your style in Mexico and the Lucha Libre style a little bit.
Yeah, so that's another furry boot moment
Okay.
was because when I met Paraguayo, El Hijo del Paraguayo, who passed away, oh my gosh, it was the anniversary, like 9 years ago, 8 years ago. When I met him, and I was only planning on being in Mexico for 5 weeks, and I ended up getting convinced to stay for 5 years. When I met him the first time, he was wearing furry boots because his father, the original Senior Paraguayo, wore like lamb fur boots. And it was like this traditional thing that he was known for throughout Mexico. And so, when the son started wrestling, he also wore the furry boots. I think recently, Dominic Mysterio actually wore
Oh, wow. As like an
to
homage,
Paraguayo. Yeah, so he wore them. So when Pero saw me wearing the furry boot covers, he was like, did you do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Because I wear furry boots. And I was like, no, like I've been doing this
For years.
for as long as I've been wrestling. And that was kind of, I don't know, it was like a weird moment. It was like one of those things where it's like a total accident, but it was meant to be.
Yeah, it was a beautiful accident. And I think, too, like, it's interesting because also doing an episode with John, John has touches of fur in his jackets and his gear.
We have a lot of fur in this house.
I just wondered if that was like, right, the P-Boys, the list goes on. But I wondered if that was coincidental or that was something that was kind of like done by design.
No, it was just kind of like what I'd done forever, and our aesthetics just like really went well together when we finally were paired together on Lucha Underground. But we'll get to that.
Let's get into some of your...
This is a Mexico classic, everybody.
Mexico. Is this AAA?
This is AAA Perros del Mal gear.
Wow. What year is this? Do we know?
2013, maybe?
Okay.
2014. You can tell the very good quality of these. And I have no idea how I used to wrestle in just this top.
I know, right?
Yeah, and like this was kind of when the cutouts started happening, because I wore pants that did not have cutouts for a really long time. I think the first time I wore the cutouts was actually when I won the AAA Reinas championship for the first time. That pink gear with the light up jacket that was inspired by Chris Jericho's light up jacket.
Okay.
Don't know where that is.
All right.
But anyways, then the cutouts kept going, and so when I was doing stuff with Perros del Mal, I was called La Perra del Mal, which loosely translates to evil bitch.
Okay.
Because perra is a female dog, so evil dogs.
Yeah.
So I had all the logos on the side, and then I started doing the cutouts on the side. So,
And then the cutouts, they stuck throughout the years. Yeah. But it all originated with your AAA.
AAA stuff.
AAA gear.
Yeah.
So I texted you, and I said, this is a look, honey. Okay, let's bring out some of this gear.
This is a look.
It has the cutouts as well.
Yes.
And like, it's sheer.
It's so see-through.
Did you realize that at the time?
No.
And like, I'm sure you didn't even know that. And then now looking back and how the evolution of your gear has came and where we're at now.
So this is actually the gear that I debuted my first match on Lucha Underground wearing versus Brian Cage.
Okay.
And I had a little furry cropped vest jacket. I have the black version of it right there. Look at how shitty this is.
It feels very Clueless vibes a little bit.
It's giving Clueless for sure. But I had a white one on when I wore this. And it's just so small and so see-through.
But why did you decide on the skull? Where did that come from?
I think that this print, a lot of people were using it at the time. In Mexico, I feel like I saw a ton of people using this print. So when my costume maker in Mexico was giving me like, oh, look at this, and I didn't want it to just be like plain black and white, I went with a skull. But when I'm just like, it was a choice.
Yeah. Another jacket, another extraordinary moment. No, but I love it. Tell me, explain this story and the creation process.
Okay, so this was for Triple Mania in 2022. When I wrestled Camille for the defending the Reina de Reinas championship in Mexico City. And I wanted to do an homage to a very dear friend of mine, La Parca, who had passed away. One of the most iconic looks in Lucha Libre history, and huge babyface, an absolute icon in wrestling. And as I was a babyface in Mexico at this time, I decided to do this jacket. I had like 20 dancing parkas that came out on the stage.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, and then obviously I did pink. He would always use red, but I wanted to do like the classic skeleton look of his gear. So
And on the back, obviously, you can see the way that it is together.
This is just
wow.
crazy. And then I had like, you know,
the standard.
The skeleton covered rhinestone. I had a little spine in the back. But yeah, I love this. I did a second set that was like this when I was part of the Death Dolls. I think it was in like orange and green because I thought it was just so cute. And like I hadn't told Maricela Pena, which is Dorian, the owner of AAA's mother, that I was going to do this look. And she always sits front row at Triple Mania. And so I remember like coming around the side and she was just like, oh my gosh. And like gave me a huge hug and was just like, yeah, it was really special. And I'm glad that I will definitely wear this again at some point because it's just so pretty.
Did the fans make the connection then?
Of course, 100%. Yeah.
How was their reaction to you coming out, obviously knowing all of the connection there?
I mean, I think it was very positive.
Yeah.
I think I did him justice, and I'm sure Chewy, that's what we called him, would be pretty proud of this because, it's
a special.
Yeah.
Totally. Not a lot of people can talk on this because you've wrestled in Mexico, you've also wrestled in the United States, a little bit everywhere. How is the process different from gear that's made in Mexico to gear that's made in the United States, or even for shows, particularly for Mexico versus the USA?
I think it's all pretty much the same. I think the biggest difference that you see through, especially like now looking at my eras of costuming, is just that like when I was getting this stuff made, I was very poor. So there wasn't a lot of money to like invest in the rhinestones and like better quality fabrics and things like that. So I just did what I could to like consistently have different colors. And if you look back on like all my time in AAA, even when I was with Peros and beyond that, like I consistently had different gear every single almost episode of AAA television.
Wow.
And I was, getting these kind of sets made for like, I don't know, like 4,000 pesos, which kind of roughly goes to like, like $200 or something like that. So $250. But I just didn't have the money to be like really investing into like more expensive materials. But the Mexican seamstresses like were pumping out gear for me and doing everything so quickly, effectively, and economically for me.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful because like if it wasn't for them, like I would have just
you wouldn't even know what to
outfit.
done. Yeah,
and
exactly.
We can't have that.
Was there anyone when you were in Mexico that you loved their look, or everybody was like, ooh, they've got the ideal look when you were there at the time when you were wrestling?
I mean, I think I just looked up to everybody because when you think about Lucha Libre, they always had the craziest masks. They always had the craziest entrance coat. Everything was like a moment in time. Like I always think about when you walk through the curtain, people should really understand who you are and identify with the character that you're showing to the world. And in Mexico, like Lucha Libre and luchadors are really viewed like superheroes and like these iconic like heroes and villains. And I remember Conan would tell me like when I would wear these little coats, like that's how I slowly started getting into bigger and bigger jackets, was because he's like bigger, make it bigger, because that is what we are, like larger than life characters coming onto your TV screen.
Oh, absolutely. So you obviously had your first run in Mexico. You were getting your feet wet. Yeah. Then you moved to the States. You have like a lengthy career.
Yes.
You've now been going back to Mexico some. Like you've had your returns here and there, but you've still been to AAA recently. What's your experience like then to now?
Oh my gosh, it's night and day because like I said, I was like so new when I first went there. I had been wrestling like a year and a half, 2 years when I moved to Mexico and made that crazy life decision, which now I'm like, if I had a daughter and she tried to do that, like not happening. But like, it was just, like I just look back on her. I kind of like separate myself. But like Taya of that time like went through so much and like experienced so many like highs and so many lows and so many like personal and like really great experiences and really horrible experiences. And it's just very different when I go back there now. I have such a connection to Lucha Libre because it definitely is the reason that I am where I am today. 1,000%. I owe I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because I owe so much of it to like where I am in my career, to how I met my husband, to meeting you, to meeting like to going and involving and going to all these different companies. So it is very nostalgic when I go back. Yeah. And I'm just like really proud of myself because I think that it takes a special type of crazy to do what I did. But
I can't even imagine. Guys, I can't even imagine.
But I survived and I just look back on it as like just this really incredible chapter in my life.
Of course. Before we move on from your Mexico era, you did have some pieces there as well that it was almost like a bra top too. There was some pieces of your gear, like it was a bra top, but it had like the bra kind of showing halfway through.
Yeah.
Where did that design come from?
That came because literally I was having costume malfunctions on a regular.
Really?
Yeah. You need to be held in there. And I mean, you saw how small these tops
Yes.
are. Like, come on, guys. Like,
I
what's
know.
happening here? So I, once again, because I was, poor, I would just go to, whatever, go buy a bra. I would cut it into a halter because it was hard to find a halter bra. And then I would go and buy like the stretch sequins.
Okay.
The thicker
Yeah,
ones.
and
I
put
would
them on.
and glue gun them onto my bras.
I like to ask too, because it takes a lot of damn confidence to get out there in this. Like I always say, I give you guys so much respect because I get to cover myself up in a dress. Like I don't have to get out there and wrestle in basically a bikini. Like where do you find your confidence when you're out there in the ring? Because you not only have to be fashionable, but you have to be an athlete at the same time.
I mean, I think that I'm very good at covering it up sometimes when I am very insecure, just like everybody. But yeah, when I become Taya, I think that's when the confidence and the I don't give a, and I can just do what I gotta do. Because like we're completely under the scrutiny and under a microscope, especially as women on a regular basis. So it can be really hard sometimes, but you gotta shake it off and keep going. So.
For sure. Well, okay, the one piece has been like kind of another signature piece along with your fur boots.
Yeah.
How did that kind of evolve and creating something that's so unique in a one piece, because so many women wear like a two-piece set. I love the one piece because it gives individuality there. It gives personality for you. Where'd that come from?
I'm just gonna be straight up honest here, is like the fact that anytime you're wearing a two-piece and you are taking a back bump or you're selling, people love to point out the fact that you have skin folds.
Okay. Well, we all are human.
Yes.
We're allowed to do that.
But oh my God, people will like pick at you and pick at you and pick at you. So I was like, how can I like avoid this? And it was just like, let's try doing a one piece. And also because like nobody was doing it at the time. So, and in Mexico, a lot of luchadoras, especially like classic luchadoras, wear a lot of one pieces.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it originally came from the insecurity of having my picture taken or video of me selling forward and worrying about.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, but like that's sad, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of became your signature, and it also you have to feel confident in what you're wearing
100%.
when you're in the middle.
If you're uncomfortable, like you're not, it doesn't translate well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's dive into some of those looks.
Yes.
Holy cow! This coat is like a blanket. It's like beyond a like extra large king size comforter. Yeah. Holy cow, Kira! How did you walk out with this?
Cautiously. So this was when I first started going to Impact, and I had been, the longest reigning Reina de Reinas champion forever in Mexico. Reina de Reinas means Queen of Queens. So I was kind of doing this like lucha royalty character. And I wore a crown, and it came out with like very slow music, and I had fans. It was very dramatic. If you remember the video.
I remember.
Yeah, it's like where I first met Mackenzie.
Yes.
And she wore this. And so this was actually like I was going with Elsa colors, Frozen, obviously, classic. And then, so I had to go them coordinate. So I wanted like a really Game of Thrones style.
Flip this on the back so you can also see the back of the jacket.
Game of Thrones style sleeve, which honestly, the first time I ever wore sleeves like this, I was like, this is not easy to get in and out of a ring with.
Right. I was gonna say, how do you do that?
Like, it was very hard, and I had to be very aware of like lifting my arms up in a certain way to get through the ropes because they would get caught on the ropes. And then this idea with the spikes coming out, there's a few jackets that have this on it from the Queen era. This actually came inspired by a character from the 300 movies, and she had spikes on this like black leather coat that like went down the spine of her jacket when she was like fighting on this warship, and I thought that was cool. So I was like, let's give me armor. So I had armor.
And it became, you also had a crown that you were wearing that kind of completed the entire look.
Yeah, it was a look. I couldn't find one of the crowns.
That's okay.
But yeah, no, I just was like, you know me. If I'm gonna do something, I'm not gonna
go big with
do
it.
Half-ass. So I definitely committed. And this one was made in Mexico by Lily.
Okay.
And she really like did an incredible job. A lot of my Queen jackets, she did. I think she did all of those ones. So
how did you travel with that?
Oh.
Please tell me. Please inform us.
With many bags.
Like,
I
what, were you
always have
checking?
a check bag. I always have a check. So everyone knows rules of wrestling. You always carry your carry-on that has all your like gear. So I would carry my knee pads and my boots and the main outfit in my carry-on. But of course I can't fit this in a carry-on. So I remember those impact tapings because I, once again, had multiples of these. I had a red one, I had a white one, I had this blue one. I have a green one too, and I also had capes. And I remember having just like two giant like checked bags because how are you supposed to travel with this? And my bags were always overweight. My passion for costuming, my passion for looks and fashion and presentation goes back to like my ballet days because my dance teacher was a maniac about it. My mom can tell you.
Really?
Yeah.
She needed your look to be perfection.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Mrs. Eastick from Pacific Dance Center in Victoria, BC. Yeah, she was a trained costume designer prior to becoming, being a dance school owner. So she was so obsessed with costuming, and I think that definitely
it stuck. Well, and it stuck with you, and it was kind of like it trickled down throughout the years.
Yep.
And then now to where your look is today, it's so elaborate, it's so intricate. Like it's cool that passed down a little bit.
Do you remember this?
Taya?
This is like my Care Bear gear.
Yeah, I love it. I love this. It's so cute. It's so like I feel like this was when Taya, the Taya that we know today, started
beginning to come to fruition. Yeah.
And then on the back it has the
Taya Wear Loca. So these were painted by Emily, Brody King's wife, actually.
Oh, wow.
She painted all these original jackets that John and I had through our time on Lucha Underground. There were leather ones, there was this one, and like we all kind of were doing like neon colors and things like that. I remember getting in fights with Angelico because we would wear lime green, and that's my color. But no, this is very special, and I've kept all these jackets because I think they're pieces of art.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job.
I mean, look, also I'm eating fur, guys. Like we just keep eating fur, I think.
There's a lot of fur.
This is the like realest episode I think I've ever had, is me and Kira just like talking about the real deal.
Like...
Okay. This was Impact
2019 Monsters Ball heel champion Taya knockouts match. It was me, Jessica Havoc, Rosemary, and Sue Young in a Monsters Ball, and it was one of my favorite matches from that time. And I decided, like they're more like monster dark kind of characters, so I wanted to like completely go the opposite direction. I actually came out with a pink staple gun.
You did?
I had spray painted a staple gun for that match, pink, and I don't know where it is.
You did it in a very Taya way.
Yes, 100%. And the reason that I went also with this kind of monochromatic look was actually very strategic, and I've done it a few times. I did like the orange creamsicle look, which was actually like you recreated for this. This was actually recreated for her.
Oh, cute. She has a little like a little action figure off of this look, right?
The classic off of that look. So some fun fact about monochromatic looks, if you look this up, it's actually true. The Queen of England would always wear a monochromatic look because you could identify her in a crowd.
Who she was. I love that.
So
I didn't know that, and I've been doing monochromatic looks too. So we love it. We're queens.
We're queens. That's where the inspiration for the monochromatic look came from, because the Queen of England would always do it, and you can literally look it up online, do a quick Google search, and they will show you like the rainbow of like these looks that the Queen of England would do. So that's why I started doing
the monochromatic looks. And have you recycled these jackets?
Yeah, so I do wear them. They get in and out of the archives. This one I wore in a match versus Jade Cargill on AEW last year. Because like there's beautiful pieces, and I feel like people forget, and like a lot of people some of them really just getting to know me on AEW. So why not?
Yeah, bring them back.
It's a vintage piece.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is, since they're recycled as well and repurposed, then I can wear these.
Oh, you can
eventually.
wear whatever you want.
Okay, awesome, perfect. I also want to see on the front of your gear, you have a signature, almost like design.
Yeah.
This is also kind of like the Taya. This is, I feel like, the Taya signature per se.
Yes.
Where did this design come from?
So these were made by Jolene, who now works for WWE. She made me a ton of these one pieces. When we originally designed these, I think the first one was like a black, white, and silver version, and then like a black and lime green. I actually drew these.
Oh, you did?
I drew these up, and I was trying to do like tribal kind of looking shapes that were like flattering to my body, as well as like taking some shapes from John's gear. Like this is some of early John gear has a lot of these similar types of shapes. So I drew this out on a piece of paper. The designs have changed, especially this year. When we look at the stuff that I'm wearing now, you'll notice that it's just like slightly evolved and slightly different, but we always stick to the kind of the same vibe.
Yeah. And I have to ask, why the earmuffs?
Well,
we have a story.
Look at this. Like, this is...
Yeah, right?
Like,
it goes above and beyond. It is, again, Taya to another level.
It's so extra and stupid. And if you know me, you know that I love so much of the camp and the over-the-top stuff. So the idea for the earmuffs actually came from that movie Best Friends.
Okay.
I think it's called Best Friends with Anna Faris.
Okay.
And she's a pop star, and at one point she is wearing these oversized earmuffs, and I just thought it was so stupid, and I just loved it so much. Also, I think it was Scream Queens. One of the Scream Queens always wore earmuffs in every single scene. It started with like a furry headband, and it evolved into the earmuffs. But I still think it's iconic as fuck.
Yeah, I think it's great. It gives me like Paris Hilton a little bit.
Oh yeah,
I think Paris Hilton would definitely be wearing something like this.
It's very stupid, but I love it. And like I did like some promos for the Canadian tour that's coming up for AEW in December, I think it was. We were in Montreal, and I had brought a pair of black earmuffs with me, and I was like, so I did the whole promo like that because I was like, winter, cold.
Yeah, you have to, right?
Once in a while. So yeah.
Well, I loved this. I love this look. I think it's so iconic. This jacket in itself, and if it goes missing. Maybe it just went to my house. I don't know. Maybe I shipped it and it's at mine now. Yeah. We promise we're still here. We're under a jacket. Yeah, here we are. Surprise. Oh my gosh. Yes. Here we are. I did you add to this, or was this always here? This like rhinestone sequin. Wow, yeah. I just thought it was just this was white.
No, this was always this color.
It was always this color.
Always gray
okay.
And white to give it dimension, because the creator of it, Eddie Couture, he does a lot of drag costumes, thought that adding the gray would add some depth to it, because if it was all white, it would just kind of translate to like just a poof.
Yeah, okay.
It's giving loofah a little bit.
So this is Frankie Monet days.
This is my debut in NXT jacket. Yeah.
Okay. And Frankie Monet, she lived for a little bit.
Yeah.
But Frankie never felt authentic to you, really, right? Like...
Well, it was hard because I'd been Taya Valkyrie for like a decade, and to go somewhere and be really, I pushed so hard to keep Taya as Taya, but they just didn't want it. And so I had to try and do what I can with what I'm given, and I created Frankie Monet. And this jacket, I obviously had to have a super over-the-top moment for my WWE debut.
Yeah, of course you do.
They had told me at NXT they didn't want me wearing fur coats because we were in Florida. Which at the end of the day, I don't know why that matters.
Why does that matter? Right.
It literally doesn't matter. But anyways, that's a whole other story. But, so I was like, okay, like what else, what other material can I use to like...
Spice it up.
Yeah, spice it up, do something different. And I had never seen anyone do tulle. And I had done like a smaller tulle kind of version of a coat right before I left Impact. I did like a lime green one and a purple one. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you know what, let's try to use tulle. And it goes back to my ballerina roots a little bit. And I found Eddie Couture on Instagram, and he made this for me.
And inside, guys, I'm just going to show you a little bit of how this looks, because it's not just the tulle. Like, it's not just like a big ball of floof. On the inside, there's boning. I don't know if you can see, but it's built truly for her body, and it's like formed a little bit on your arms.
To create the roundness of it all. And the thing is, the day I debuted, I had not shown this to anybody.
Okay.
And we were practicing my entrance, and
I was there.
You were there, but Triple H was like, okay, let's practice your entrance, da-da. And I said, oh, can I get my new jacket? And he was like, oh, okay. And when I got this, and I came onto the stage wearing it, and him and Rodzak were like, oh, what is that?
Mic drop.
Yeah. And they were like, oh my gosh, like we have to create this moment, and we have to make
it beautiful,
as impactful and as beautiful to give the full Frankie Monet experience. So that's why the entrance, like we did it the way we did, how I stood up, walking up the little steps that they put in front of the ring for me, and I dropped it right there. But yeah, like nobody knew. Yeah, she's special because she was like the first one that I did like this, and I don't think anyone's ever done anything that looks like this.
That way.
And if they have now, I was the first one. Yeah, it was really special, and it was definitely one of those things where I was like, I was prepared to 120% with something that they did not expect. And I now have 3 jackets like this. I have a black one, I have this one, and I have a pink and purple one.
And does this just get like shipped to you here?
Yeah, I would get the costume. It was shipped to me. Yeah.
Okay. I can imagine how like this traveling traveling from where in a box.
It's from New York, I believe. But yeah, and Eddie made another jacket that I do not have here because it's actually on the trucks for AEW. That never got seen. It was originally made for WWE, and it never got seen, and it just recently finally had its television debut.
Yay!
Versus Deonna Purrazzo, and that giant jacket with that looked kind of like a captain's jacket. It has like animals on the shoulder. We'll insert a photo. Was made after a look from the live-action Cruella movie.
Oh yeah.
When she's standing on the car, and I just thought that I was obsessed with that movie when it came out.
Fantastic.
So I was like, let's recreate this look, and that's what I did with that. And she finally got to be seen.
Do you feel like there's anybody in the pop culture and the entertainment world that you typically look to for inspiration for your gear?
Yeah. Absolutely, especially the entrance looks, because I always look to pop culture. I look to my favorite singers. Like, I love Lady Gaga. I mean, obviously that's, I get a lot of inspiration from all of her crazy different chapters and eras. I love going to live performances, like when I went to go see Beyonce, or when you go see Gwen Stefani, and seeing the kind of like, the production of it all. Because I think that wrestling is literally a feeling and a moment, and you're creating this visual moment for fans. And I love to do that. So I definitely get inspiration from all my favorite pop artists and movies, like I said, Cruella, or different things like that.
Okay. Modern day
Taya
AEW
Valkyrie, star,
yes.
Taya Valkyrie. You always identify that it's me,
Yeah.
but I've just evolved over time.
Yeah, and it's been your own personal touches on that, on the evolution of the gear. Obviously, in the front, you have a little bit of your signature kind of like shape that you typically do, but it's different a little bit, right?
Yeah, it matches now John's design almost perfectly, but in my sort of like variation. Yeah, I'm absolutely covered in rhinestones again. This is the gear and the jacket that I wore for Double or Nothing, my first AEW pay-per-view. For the TBS Championship versus Jade in Vegas, and I wanted to do a very like classic Versace colors. This jacket, I basically said that I wanted it to be like Edward Scissorhands, kind of goth Matrix, Pinhead vibes.
Okay.
And I literally sent
she
all
was
pictures.
not here to play around, okay?
No. So this has all the chains all over it. I still wear this coat because I just love it. I love her. I feel cute and hot and sexy in it, and I just think it's such a vibe.
And you and John are getting to match now.
Yes.
Tell me about that process, because obviously I know you guys a little bit more than I feel like the viewership would know you guys.
Yeah.
Are you the brains behind all of the vision of Johnny Loves Taya and John and Taya in the ring?
I mean, we collaborate on everything, obviously. I think that sometimes we butt heads about colors sometimes, because I want to do one thing and he wants to do another, but we kind of find the compromise.
But is there a color that you guys are like, ooh, we have to do that because it feels like us?
We're really into this kind of like rock star Hollywood Pam and Tommy vibes.
Okay.
So we're using a lot more darker colors than we have in the past, a lot of metallics. So we've been doing, and like I always like keeping a black base, especially when you're a heel. I just feel like it always looks crisp on TV. I never want to do pastels because pastels get washed out and they never translate like they do in person.
See, I would never know that
because of all the lights. So yeah, we just try to keep some like really rich colors
in it. Totally. To see you now with your husband and like just to be in your element, like I love this era of Taya.
Yeah, and I love this era of Mackenzie.
I know, right? Like, it's just so crazy how life works. I just I just have to say that because it's really cool to get to see you and John back together. Where I met you and John together at Impact, and now to kind of be like taking it over and doing the thing at AEW. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, and it's like I truly feel like, especially in this last year, that I'm like the most true, authentic version of me. I feel like I'm letting Kira be more present than I have in the past, and I just have gotten to a place where like I am understanding that it's taken me this long, that I cannot make everybody happy, and maybe I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and you don't have to like me or even watch me if you don't want to, but like I'm being myself, I'm doing the work, I've have 13, 14 years of a career that speaks for itself. And if no one will give me my flowers, I'll give them to myself.
Yeah.
Like Miley Cyrus said.
Yes. Can we clap for that, right? I love that.
I'm just really proud of continuing to work, continuing to show John and I's creative side, not only in wrestling, but also what we are able to do creatively outside of it, which is why we've had our web series, Johnny Loves Taya. And I believe that when this comes out, the finale will have just aired. Yeah. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you check out the AEW YouTube channel. There's a playlist with all the episodes. There's 10 in total of Johnny Loves Taya, and creating, other projects, other creative projects. Totally. We're creative people. We're artists. And I'm just going to continue to do that and be authentically myself and unapologetic, and just keep creating art for the world.
As you should.
If it's in the ring, if it's out of the ring, all of it.
Yay.
And win a championship here.
Yeah. Here, that would be nice, right? Yeah. Just sprinkle that in a little bit. All right. Well, thanks, girl. Love it. Had so much fun.
Love you.
Mwah.